All glories to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila, Chapter 14, Text 63. Anvinate Mahaprabhu Lana Bhakta Gana Anande Aramba Kaila Nartana Kirtana. While Lord Jagannath, Lord Balaram, and Subhadra sat on their respective thrones, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees began to perform Sankirtan with great pleasure, chanting and dancing in the yard of the temple. 64. Anande Mahaprabhura Prema Uta Lila Dekhi Sabaloka Prema Sagare Bashila. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting and dancing, he was overwhelmed with ecstatic love, and all the people who saw him were also flooded in the ocean of love of Godhead. 65. Nrityakari Sandhyakali Arati Dekhila Aitota Asi Prabhu Vishrama Karila. In the evening, after finishing his dancing in the yard of the Gundicha temple, the Lord observed the Arti ceremony. Thereafter he went to a place called Aitota and took rest for the night. 66. Advaitadi Bhaktagana Nimantrana Kaila Mukhya Mukhya Navajana Navadina Kaila. For 9 days, 9 chief devotees headed by Advaita Acharya got an opportunity to invite the Lord to their homes. 67. Arabhakta Gana Chatur Masye Yata Dina Eka Eka Dina Kari Karila Bhantana. During the 4 months of the rainy season, the remaining devotees extended invitations to the Lord for 1 day each. In this way, they shared invitations. 68. Charimase Radina Mukhya Bhakta Banti Nila Arabhakta Gana Avasarana Paila. For the 4-month period, all the daily invitations were shared among the important devotees. The rest of the devotees did not get an opportunity to extend an invitation to the Lord. 69. Ekadina nimantrana karidu iti nemili Eimata Mahaprabhura nimantrana keli. Since they could not get 1 day each, 2 or 3 devotees combined to extend an invitation. These are the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's acceptance of invitations. 70. Pratakale snanakari deki jagannatha sankirtane nrityakare bhakta gana sata. After taking his bath early in the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go see Lord Jagannath in the temple. Then he would perform Sankirtana with his devotees. 71. Kabu Advaite Nachaya Kabu Nityanande Kabu Haridase Nachaya Kabu Achyutanande. By chanting and dancing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu induced Advaita Acharya to dance. Sometimes he induced Nityananda Prabhu, Haridas Thakur, and Achyutananda to dance. 72. Kabu vakres vare kabu arabhakta gane Trisandhya kirtanakare gundicha prangane. Sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu engaged Vakresvara, and other devotees in chanting and dancing. 3 times daily, morning, noon, and evening, he would perform Sankirtana in the yard of the Gundicha temple. 73. Vrindavane Aila Krishna Ehi Prabhu Lagyana Krishnera Viraha Swarti Haila Abhasana. At this time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt that Lord Krishna had returned to Vrindavan. Thinking this, his feelings of separation from Krishna subsided. 74. Radha Sange Krishna lila Ehi Haila Gyane Ehi Rase Magna Prabhu Haila Apane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always thinking of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and he remained personally merged in this consciousness. 75. Nano jane bhakta sange vrindavana lila indradyamna sarovare kare jala kela. There are many gardens near the Gundicha temple, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees used to perform the pastimes of Vrindavan in each of them. In the lake named Indradyumna, he sported in the water. 76. Apane sakala bhakti sinche jala diya sabha bhakta gana sinche chodi ke bediya. The Lord personally splashed all the devotees with water, and the devotees surrounding him on all sides also splashed the Lord. "77. Kabu eka mandala kabu eneka mandala jala manduka vaje sabe vajaya karatala." While in the water, they sometimes formed one circle and sometimes many circles. And while in the water, they used to play cymbals and imitate the croaking of frogs. 78. Dui dui jane meli kare jala rana keha hare keha jine prabhu kare darshana. Sometimes 2 would pair off to fight in the water. One would emerge victorious and the other defeated, and the Lord would watch all this fun. 79. Advaita Nityanande Jala Pela Peli Acharya Hariya Pache Kare Gala Gali. The first sporting took place between Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu, who threw water upon each other. Advaita Acharya was defeated. He later began to rebuke Nityananda Prabhu, calling him ill names. 80. Vijnani dhira jala keli svarupe rasane gupta date jala keli kare dui jane. Swarup Damodar and Vidyanidhi also threw water upon each other, and Murari Gupta and Vasudev Datta also sported in that way. 81. Srivasa Sahita Jala Kela Gadhadhara Raghava Pandita Sane Kele Vakresvara. Another duel took place between Srivas Thakur and Gadadhar Pandit, and yet another between Raghava Pandit and Vakesvara Pandit. Thus they all engaged in throwing water. 82. Sarvabhauma Sange Kele Ramananda Raya Gambhirya Gela Donhara Haila Sishu Praya. Indeed, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya engaged in water sports with Sri Ramananda Roy, and they both lost their gravity and became like children. 83. Mahaprabhu Tandonhara Chanchalya Dekhiya Gopinata Charye Kichu Kahina Hasiya. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the exuberance of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy, he smiled and spoke to Gopinath Acharya. 84. Pandita Gambhira Dunhe Pramanika Jana Balachana Chalya Kare Karaha Varjana. Tell the Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy to stop their childish play, because they are both learned scholars and very grave and great personalities. 85. Gopinata kahe tomara kripa mahasindhu Uchalita kare yabe tara eka bindu. Gopinath Acharya replied, I believe that one drop of the ocean of your great mercy has swelled up upon them. 86. Meru Mandara Parvata Dubaya Yata Tata Eidu Iganda Saila Ihara Kakata. A drop from the ocean of mercy can drown great mountains like Sumeru and Mandara. Since these two gentlemen are little hills by comparison, it is no wonder that they are being drowned in the ocean of your mercy. 87. Shushka Tarka Kali Kaite Janmagela Yandra Tandre Lila Mrita Piyao E Kripa Tumara. Logic is like a dry oil cake from which all the oil has been extracted. The Bhattacharya passed his life in eating such dry cakes, but now you have made him drink the nectar of transcendental pastimes. It is certainly your great mercy upon him. 88. Hasimaha Prabhutabe Advaite Anila Jalera Upare Tanre Sesha Saya Kaila. After Gopinath Acharya finished talking, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled and, calling for Advaita Acharya, made him act like the Sesha Nag bed. 89. Apane tanhara upara karila sayana Sesha sai lila prabhu kaila prakatana. Lying down on Advaita Prabhu, who was floating on the water, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated the pastime of Sesha Sai Vishnu. 90. Advaita Nija Shakti Prakata Kariya Mahaprabhu Lana Bhule Jalete Basiya. Manifesting his personal potency, Advaita Acharya floated on the water carrying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 91. Emata Jala Kridha Karikata Chana Aitota Aila Prabhu lana bhakta gana. After sporting in the water for some time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to his place at Ayodhya, accompanied by his devotees. 92. Puri Bharati Adiyata Mukhya Bhakta Gana Acharyera Nimantrane Karila Bhojana. Paramananda Puri, Ramananda Bharati, and all the other chief devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took lunch at the invitation of Advaita Acharya. 93. Vaninata Arayata Prashada Anila Mahaprabhura Ganesei Prashada Kaila. Whatever extra prasadam was brought by Vaninath Roy was taken by the other associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 94. Aparahne asi kaila dharashana nartana nishate udyane asi karila sayana. In the afternoon, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the Gundicha temple to visit the Lord and dance. At night, he went to the garden to take rest. 95. Aradina asi kaila isvara darashana prangane nritya gita kaila katakshana. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also went to the temple of Gundicha and saw the Lord. He then chanted and danced in the yard for some time. 96. Bhakta Gana Shange Prabhu Ujjane Asiya Vrindavana Vihara Kare Bhakta Gana Lana. Accompanied by his devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went into the garden and enjoyed the pastimes of Vrindavan. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has pointed out that this Vrindavan Vihara, the pastimes of Vrindavan, does not refer to Krishna's mixing with the gopis or the transcendental mellow of Parakiya Ras. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Vrindavan lila in the garden of Jagannath Puri did not involve association with women or with other people's wives in the fashion transcendentally demonstrated by Sri Krishna. In his Vrindavan lila, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conceived of himself as the assistant of Srimati Radharani. When Srimati Radharani enjoyed the company of Krishna, her maidservants were very pleased. One should not compare Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Vrindavan Vihara in the garden of Jagannath with the activities of the Gauranga Nagaris. 97. Vrichavali Prafulita Prabhura Darashane Vringapika Gaya Baheshita Pavane. There were multifarious trees and creepers in the garden, and they were all jubilant to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, the birds were chirping, the bees were buzzing, and a cool breeze was blowing. 98. Prativriksha Tale Prabhu Karina Nartana Vasudeva Datta Matra Karina Gayana. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced beneath each and every tree, Vasudeva Datta sang along. 99. Eka eka vriksha tale eka eka gana gaya parama avesha eka nase gorayaya. As Vasudeva Datta sang a different song beneath each and every tree, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced there alone in great ecstasy. 100. Tabe vrakes vare Prabhu kahila nachite vakresvara nase Prabhu lagila gaite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then ordered Vakresvara Pandit to dance, and as he began to dance, the Lord began to sing. 101. Prabhu Sange Swarupadi Kirtaniya Gaya Digvidikna Hi Jnana Premera Vandhaya. Then devotees like Swarup Damodar and other kirtan performers began to sing along with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being inundated with ecstatic love, they lost all consideration of time and circumstance. 102. E mata kata kshana karivana lila narendra sarovare gela karite jalakela. After thus performing pastimes in the garden for some time, they all went to a lake called Narendra Sarovara, and there enjoyed Narendra Sarovara, and then enjoyed the sporting in the water. 103. Jalakrida Karipuna Aila Udayane Lojana Lila Kaila Prabhulana Bhaktagane. After sporting in the water, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to the garden and accepted prasadam with the devotees. 104. Napadina Gundichate Rahe Jagannatha Mahaprabhu Aiche Lila Kare Bhakta Sata. For 9 continuous days, His Lordship Sri Jagannath Deva stayed at the Gundicha temple. During this time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also stayed there and performed the pastimes with his devotees that have already been described. 105. Jagannatha Vallabha Namabhada Pusparama Navadina Karena Prabhu Tata Vishrama. The garden of his pastimes was very large and was named Jagannath Vallabha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his rest there for 9 days. 106. Hera Panchami Radina Ailajaniya Kasi Misre Kahe Raja Sayatna Kariya. Knowing that Hera Panchami festival was drawing near, King Prataparudra attentively talked with Kasi Misra. 107. Kaya Hera Panchami Abe Lakshmira Vijaya Arche Utsava Karayena Kabu Nahi Haya. Tomorrow will be the function of Hera Panchami or Lakshmi Vijaya. Hold this festival in a way that has never been held before. The Hera Panchami festival takes place 5 days after the Ratha Yatra festival. Lord Jagannath has left his wife, the goddess of fortune, and gone to Vrindavan, which is the Gundicha temple. Due to separation from the world, the goddess of fortune decides to come to see the Lord at Gundicha. The coming of the goddess of fortune to Gundicha is celebrated as Hera Panchami. Sometimes this is misspelled as Hara Panchami among the Ativadis. The word Hera means to see and refers to the goddess of fortune going to see Lord Jagannath. The word Panchami means the 5th day and is used because this takes place on the 5th day of the moon. 108. Mahotsava Karatarche Vishesha Sambara Dekhi Mahaprabhu Rayache Haya Chamatkara. King Prataparudra said, hold this festival in such a gorgeous way that upon seeing it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be completely pleased and astonished. 109. Thakurera bandare ara amara bandare chitravastra kinkini ara chatra chamare. Take as many printed cloths, small beds, umbrellas, and chamaras as there are in my storehouse and in the deity's storehouse. 110. Vajavrinda pataka gantaya karaha mandana nanavadya nritya dolaya karaha sajana. Collect all kinds of small and large flags and ringing bells. Then decorate the carrier and have various musical and dancing parties accompany. In this way, decorate the carrier attractively. 111. Viguna kariyakara sabha upahara ratayatra haite yaiche haya chamatkara. You should also double the quantity of prasadam. Make so much that it will even surpass the Ratha Yatra festival. 112. Sita kariha prabhu lana bhakta gana svachande asiya yarche karina dharshana. Arrange the festival in such a way that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may freely go with his devotees to visit the deity without difficulty. 113. Pratakale Mahaprabhu Nijagana Lana Jagannatha Darshana Kaila Sundara Chalayana. In the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his personal associates with him to see Lord Jagannath at Sundarachala. Sundarachala is the Gundicha temple. The temple of Jagannath at Jagannath Puri is called Nilachala, and the temple of Gundicha is called Sundarachala. (114) Nilachala Ailapuna Bhaktagana Shange Dekhite Utkanta Hera Panchami Range. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal devotees returned to Nilachala with great eagerness to see the Hera Panchami festival. 115. Kasi Misra Prabhure Bahu Adhara Kariya Svagana Saha Balastani Vasaila Lana. Kasi Misra received Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great respect, and taking the Lord and his associates to a very nice place, he had them seated. 116. Rasa Vishesha Prabhura Sunite Manahaila Ishatasiya Prabhu Swarupe Puchila. After taking his seat, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to hear about a particular mellow of devotional service. Therefore, mildly smiling, he began to questions for Rup Damodar. 117 through 118. Yadyapi Jagannatha Karena Dvarakya Vihara Sahaja Prakatha Kare Parama Udara Tatapi Vatsarha Madhye Haya Eka Bara Vrindavana Dekhite Tandra Utkanta Apara. Although Lord Jagannath enjoys his pastimes at Dwarkadam and naturally manifests sublime liberality there, still once a year he becomes unlimitedly eager to see Vrindavan. 119. Vrindavana sama ei upavana gana tahade ki bare utkan tita hayamana. Pointing out the neighboring gardens, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "All these gardens exactly resemble Vrindavan. Therefore, Lord Jagannath is very eager to see them again." 120. Bahiraha ite kare rata yatra chala Sundara chale yaya Prabhu chari nila chala. Externally, he gives the excuse that he wants to participate in the Ratha Yatra festival, but actually he wants to leave Jagannath Puri to go to Sundarachala, the Gunjaji temple, a replica of Vrindavan. 121. Nana puspo jane tata kele ratri dine Lakshmi dvire sange nahi laya ki karane. The Lord enjoys his pastimes day and night in various flower gardens there. But why does he not take Lakshmi Dev, the goddess of fortune, with him? 122. Swarupa kahi suna prabhu karana ihara Vrindavana kridate lakshmira nahi adhikara. Swarup Damodar replied, "My dear Lord, please hear the reason for this. Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, cannot be admitted to the pastimes of Vrindavan." 123. Vrindavana lilaya krishnera sahaya gopigana vina krishnera harite narayana. In the pastimes of Vrindavan, only the assistants are the gopis. But for the gopis, no one can attract the mind of Krishna. 124. Prabhukahi yatra chale krishnera gamana Subhadra ara baladeva sange duijana. The Lord said, using the car festival as an excuse, Krishna goes there with Subhadra and Baladev. 125. Gopi sange yata lila haya upavane Nibudha krishnera bhava keha nahi jane. And all the pastimes with the gopis that take place in those gardens are very confidential ecstasies of Lord Krishna. No one knows them. 126. Ateva krishnera prakatye nahi kichu dosha Tabekene Lakshmi Devi Kare Etarosa. Since there is no fault at all in Krishna's pastimes, why does the goddess of fortune become angry? 127. Swarupa kahe prema vatira eitas bhava kantera audasya leshe haya krodha bhava. Swarup Damodar replied, "It is the nature of a girl afflicted by love to become immediately angry upon finding any neglect on the part of her lover." 128. Ena kali kachite yahe vividha ratana suvarnera chodola kari arohana. While Swarup Damodar and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were talking, the procession of the goddess of fortune came by. She was riding upon a golden palanquin carried by 4 men and bedecked with a variety of jewels. 129. Chatra chamara dvaja patakara gana Dhanavadhya agenase devadasi gana. The palanquin was also surrounded by people carrying umbrellas, chamara whisks, and flags, and it was preceded by musicians and dancing girls. 130. Tambula samputa jari vyajana chamara sate dasi satahara divya bhusambara. The maidservants were carrying water pitchers, chamara whisks, and boxes for betel nuts. There were hundreds of maidservants, all attractively dressed and wearing valuable necklaces. 131. Alaukika Aishvarya Sange Bahu Parivara Kudhahana Lakshmi Devi Aila Simhadvara. In an angry mood, the goddess of fortune arrived at the main gate of the temple, accompanied by many members of her family, all of whom exhibited uncommon opulence. 132. Jagannatera Mukhya Yata Britya Gane Lakshmi Devi Radasi Gana Karena Bandhane. When the procession arrived, the maidservants of the goddess of fortune began to arrest all the principal servants of Lord Jagannath. 133. Bandhiya Aniya Pade Lakshmira Charane Koreyena Danda Kori Laya Nana Dane. The maidservants bound the servants of Jagannath, handcuffed them, and made them fall down at the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune. Indeed, they were arrested just like thieves who have all their riches taken away. Purport. When Lord Jagannath starts his car festival, he gives assurance to the goddess of fortune that he will return the next day. When he does not return, the goddess of fortune, after waiting 2 or 3 days, begins to feel that her husband has neglected her. She naturally becomes quite angry. Gorgeously decorating herself and her associates, she comes out of the temple and stands before the main gate. All the principal servants of Lord Jagannath are then arrested by her maidservants, brought before her, and forced to fall down at her lotus feet. (134) E Chaitanya Bhattare Karena Tadane Nanamata Galidena Bandhavachane. When the servants fell down before the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune, they almost fell unconscious. They were chastised and made the butt of jokes and loose language. 135. Lakshmi Sange Dasi Ganera Pragala Vyadekhiya Ase Mahaprabhura Gane Mukhe Hastadiya. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates saw such impudence exhibited by the maidservants of the goddess of fortune, they covered their faces with their hands and began to smile. (136) Damodara kahe aiche manera prakara Trijagate kahanahi dekhi suni ara. Sarup Damodar said, "There is no egoistic pride like this within the 3 worlds. At least I have never seen it or heard of it." 137. Manini nirutsahe chadevi bhushana bhumevasina keleke malina bhadana. When a woman is neglected and disappointed, out of egoistic pride, she gives up her ornaments and morosely sits down on the ground, marking lines on it with her nails. 138. Purvesacha bhamara suni evam vidhamana vraje gopika niramana rasera nidhana. I have heard of this kind of pride in Satyabhama, Krishna's proudest queen, and I have also heard of it in the gopis of Vrindavan, who are the reservoirs of all transcendental mellows. 139. Inho nija sampati saba prakata kariya Hera uparayaya sarnya sajana. But in the case of the goddess of fortune, I see a different kind of pride. She manifests her own opulences and even goes with her soldiers to attack her husband. Purport. After seeing the impudence of the goddess of fortune, Swarup Damodar Goswami wanted to inform Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the super excellence of the gopis' loving affairs. He therefore said, "My lord, I have never experienced anything like the behavior of the goddess of fortune. We sometimes see a beloved wife becoming proud of her position and then frustrated due to some neglect. She then gives up caring for her appearance, accepts dirty clothes, and morosely sits on the ground and draws lines with her nails. We have heard of such egoistic pride in Satyabhama and the gopis of Vrindavan. But what we see in the goddess of fortune here at Jagannath Puri is completely different. She becomes very angry with her husband and attacks him with her own great opulence." 140. Prabhu kahe kaha vrajera manera prakara Swarupa kahe gopi mana nari satadhara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Please tell me of the varieties of egoistic pride manifested in Vrindavan." Purport. Swarup Damodar replied, "The pride of the gopis is like a river flowing with hundreds of tributaries." 141. Nayikara svabhava prema vritte bahubera sehi bedhe nana prakara manera ubeda. The characteristics and modes of love are different in different women. Their jealous anger also takes on different varieties and qualities. 142. Samyak gopi karamana nayaya katana ekadui vedekari digdara shana. It is not possible to give a complete statement about the different types of jealous anger manifest by the gopis, but a few principles may serve as an indication. 143. Mane keha hayadira keha ta'adhira eitin ha bede keha hayadira dira. If there are three types of women experience jealous anger: sober women, restless women, and women both restless and sober. 144. Dera kante dore dekhi kare pratyutana nikate ashle asile kare asana pradana. When a sober heroine sees her hero approaching from a distance, she immediately stands up to receive him. When he comes near, she immediately offers him a place to sit. 145. Hridaye kopa mukhe kahe madura vachana priya alingite tare kare alingana. Purport. Translation. The sober heroine conceals her anger within her heart and externally speaks sweet words. When her lover embraces her, she returns his embrace. 146. Sarala vyabhara kare manera poshana kimvasolunta pake kare priya nirashana. The sober heroine is very simple in her behavior. She keeps her jealous anger within her heart, but with mild words and smiles she rejects the advances of her lover. Adhira nistura vache karaye barchana karnot pale tare kare malaya bandana. The restless heroine, however, sometimes chastises her lover with cruel words, sometimes pulls his ear, and sometimes binds him with a flower garland. 148. Dhira dhira vakravakye kare upahasa kabu stuti kabu ninda kabu va udasa. The heroine, who is a combination of sobriety and restlessness, always jokes with equivocal words. She sometimes praises her lover, sometimes blasphemes him, and sometimes remains indifferent. 149. Mudha madhya pragalbaha tinanai karabeda Mudha nahi jane manera Vaidagya vibera. Heroines may also be classified as captivated, intermediate, and impotent. The captivated heroine does not know very much about the cunning intricacies of jealous anger. 150. Mukha achadhiya kare kevala rodhana Kantera priya vakya suni kaya parashana. The captivated heroine simply covers her face and goes on crying. When she hears the sweet words from her lover, she is very satisfied. 151. Madhya pragal bahadare dhiradi vibheda tara madhe sabara swabhaveti nabera. Both the intermediate and impotent heroines can be classified as sober, restless, and both sober and restless. Other characteristics can further be classified in 3 divisions. 152. Keha prakara keha nrudu keha haya sama svasvabhave krishnera badaya prema sima. Some of these heroines are very talkative, some are mild, and some are equipoised. Each heroine, according to her own character, increases Sri Chaitanya's loving ecstasy. Thus ends our reading for today. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Nishkama Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Vijnana Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to Sumangala Didi Ki Jai.